Well, I wanted to do a video on kind of everything that goes into my mechanical analysis service. I have about 3 clients to get to today. I've got neck spasms, as you can tell, I'm moving all robotic, but we're gonna work on a client. So this is kind of how I outlined in the beginning is they upload their opening assessment, which includes a couple different videos and opening assessment kind of PDF in which I outline some questions for them to answer so I have a better idea as far as age, height, weight, velocity, long toss, pull downs, all of that stuff. So then I can just go straight into the screen. So what you're gonna see is everything that goes into it. I got my pad and paper. You'll see here, I start typing up the report as soon as I'm done. And then I have the videos that I'll get to. I don't know if you can see the computer screen. I'll just talk you through it as I do my initial kind of screening. And then you'll see when I hit record, you'll see the screen share and the full kind of, screening of the mechanics. So once I get done with that, I hit end record. I upload the video, then I write up the report for the client. So this is me doing my initial kind of screening. I have yet to see this individual's delivery yet. So first and foremost, you get your PDF back, kind of includes all of their information that you need or that I like. One question that I like to ask is problems that you've been told in your mechanics from other coaches. So for this individual, they say that they've been told that I look at it, just to give you guys some in-depth analysis here, is I look at age. Okay, so this example for this person, age 16, and then I like to look at what they say in the problems that they've been told in their delivery, right? Because I'm really passionate about paralysis by analysis. Anytime that I see high school kids talking about like 5 different things, deficiencies or breakdowns in their delivery, right off the bat, it's a goal for me to make sure that I'm talking about simplicity, right? So I need to get them to understand, for them to be at their most athletic and best potential as a pitcher on the mound, simplicity is going to trump. Athleticism is going to trump. That's the biggest disconnection that I see in this industry, and I fall victim of this too, is we harp so much on mechanics, and then you get these kids that think about all these mechanics and they start moving like robots, and that's not what I want. So that's a huge emphasis, as you'll hear me talk about probably in the beginning of the screen share. So what I do first and foremost is I go to their first mound video from the back. So this is like a broadcast view. Again, I don't know if you guys can see it over there, but a lot of things that I look for, kind of just going through the checkpoints here, is you want to see direction, you want to see athleticism, you want to see balance, you want to see posture. Okay, so for me here, I'm looking at kind of this posture. So I like using the backside first because it gives us a really good visual for like the opening initial moves of the delivery, as far as establishing posture, athleticism, balance, direction, all of those things. That's why I like kind of using that one. So as we saw with him, the balance, athleticism, the posture, and the direction, fairly pretty good, right? For him, it's going to be more about timing. Now this gives us a really good visual for a lot of different things that I'll talk about here. Gives us a good idea for momentum, forward momentum, okay? Aiming of that drive leg going into essentially internal rotation. So those hips are rotating before that arm can really get going. So this gives us a really good kind of painted picture, whereas I originally mentioned that it was a big disconnect that I saw in that one, and to write it down, but now in this one it kind of shows me that it's not as big of a disconnect as I originally thought. The big thing to look at is like, all right, what frame is what? Because that could tell us a huge difference based on, you know, which frame is what. So when I look at front foot strike, I'm looking for that lead leg. I'm trying to see muscles being activated. Boom. So you see it right there. See how that, I don't know if you can see it. There's muscles being activated there. So that shows me full front foot contact. And now we're seeing that his hand is actually quite up. Now this is kind of where I would see that his biggest breakdown is occurring. Is he's at front foot strike, he's pretty dang powerful, but instead of pulling that arm into release and having rotation of the trunk occur naturally and get extension and then catapult off that lead leg, he's now rotating and like pushing, right? You'll see that trail leg come into flexion and then pushing, leading with the elbow into ball release, which results in an early launch, trunk posture behind the lead knee, and a brutal kind of trail leg hip flexion here, bad trunk instability, and then just not getting full extension. You'll see a bad lead leg block, and then that head posture, as I mentioned, kind of just going all sporadic. So last thing I like to do with guys, hold on, let me write that down. So what I do is I write all those things that I mentioned to you guys, right? So the drive leg, hip internal rotation timing with arm, pushing that arm through, and then have them kind of determine on their own, you know, if it's successful or if it's not. I like to look back at the opening analysis assessment, and I find this a lot of times, especially with younger guys, is a long toss number and then correlated to a mound number. So for example, this individual has a 300-foot long toss, okay? So we know that 300 feet is 90 miles an hour out of the hand, right around there. So we're trying to see, just by that number, can that individual take that efficiency and put it on the mound? In this case, this individual throws 80 off the mound. So that kind of gives us some pretty good context of where to shoot for. Most of the time, guys with long toss numbers like that and mound numbers a little bit lower than that, we see the, you know, more of a forward momentum issue. We see drive leg authentic stability issue. And in this case, I would say that the forward momentum's not an issue. That's pretty good. Head posture's not an issue. Maybe we're talking drive leg stability. I've done a lot of things on drive leg stability. Be sure to check that out if you can. But this is going to be one of those cases, I'm assuming, of authentic stability in that drive leg. And then we pull up the long toss video, right? So the long toss video is going to give us a good representation of that drive leg. And if I'm a betting man, I'd bet to see that that drive leg now is able to stabilize that force into the ground and hold that force for a little bit longer duration of time while his body's moving forward. And then what we're probably going to see is the timing now of the kinetic sequencing from hip internal rotation to now arm raise is going to clean up. If I was a betting man, I'd bet. So let's see. So you'll see that now he's crow hopping, so he's going to have that sense of stability, and then that's exactly what we see. So we get this athlete into a way better hip hinge pattern. You'll see that that trail, I don't know if you can see, the trail leg for him gets into a better corkscrew kind of position. He's able to establish a lot better direction now because he's accomplishing more of a hinging pattern, and now he's holding force. And now what we're seeing is maximum timing of internal rotation arm raise. So another thing to look at with guys with high long toss numbers too is how does he maximize his separation, his long toss compared to the mound, right? So we know that shoulder to hip separation is a huge indicator of being able to throw hard, okay? So I see this kind of go hand in hand with this client as well, as you this probably can't see from that angle, but in the mound video from the back, again, gives us a good visual for, you know, those angles. But we see that he's kind of getting into a pattern, as I mentioned before, with that pushy arm action. So this pattern of early trunk rotation pre-front foot strike, when in reality we want to delay trunk and then into internal rotation of the hips. So now this gets us into that pattern while we approach front foot strike of this stretch, right? Creating that stretch and that separation from the trunk to the hips. And with him, is he's not creating a ton of separation from the trail hip and that throwing shoulder. But we look at his long toss, and this gives us a good representation of where his trunk posture is. So we see his shoulders are pretty much even on the side with the camera, whereas his trail leg, you'll see that that foot has come up, which means that trail leg has gone into internal rotation. So now we have a lot better separation in long toss, which, as I mentioned, 300 feet, 90 out of the hand. There's patterns in his long toss that obviously clean up that he just needs to bring over to the mound. So last thing that we will do now is we will work on a comparison, try to get someone in the big leagues that's a similar body type. This person's 6'3", 170. So right off the bat, I'm thinking taller, skinnier frame. So we just want to get a video that's going to show that dynamic of pulling the arm through, right, instead of kind of just into early trunk rotation and then leading the elbow and then pushing, which is going to lead to some inefficient problems as well. And then while we get early launch, we want to show trail leg hip flexion as well. So DeGrom is always a good one. I like watching DeGrom. That video angle there is not going to cut it because it cuts off his back leg. But maybe this is the ticket. And you get a comparison, similar body type, and then you kind of just go off those checkpoints of, hey, this gives us better visual for what we were talking about with this. It's always good to do comparisons, in my opinion, because now you compare them with, you know, someone that's obviously successful. They get that in their head, and then now they're kind of conscious of it while watching games or watching pitching. So I write on the report, who's my comp, right? And then now I'll quickly jot down some things that are going to help. Okay, so now I got the whole thing written out. I'll have this by me when I do the screen share, and I'll continuously jot down things if they come to my mind. But now you'll get to see how I go about recording my screen and talking about those things, as I already mentioned to you guys watching this, and kind of just show you. It's usually about a 10-minute video of the screen. And once I get done with that, I upload that. I write up the report while the uploading is occurring, and it's all good. Another thing I might do, and just because I'm on camera now, I kind of want to get fancy, is I'll try to get these two videos synced up with one another. So I have a video editing software that I could put those two videos on the same screen or the same kind of video file where they're synced up. And I'm going to do it now because I think it'll be a better visual for him to understand what I'm talking about. All right, now that we have that, export this puppy. And now instead of having two videos up here, we can just have one. All right, now I'll just quickly go over this and know exactly what I'm going to talk about. And I love that there's a guy weed whacking now somewhere close to me. That took 28 minutes to do that. Now it's going to take another probably 28 minutes to do the next part. Here we go. All right, guys, you ready to record? Let's do it. Oh, and then pull down this handy dandy mic here. All right. Hey, you can see the camera in the background. We're going in 2, 1. All right, what's going on, guys? So I have here the full report that and we're going to go over the whole entire delivery from the beginning to the end. We'll screen the whole thing and then kind of spend a little bit more time on the specific breakdowns that that I see that I think are worth spending more time on. So what I'm going to do is we're going to screen. We're going to talk a little bit about the things that you mentioned in your opening assessment as far as the things you've been told. We're going to spend a little bit of time on talking about the disconnect I see in your long toss compared to the mound. As I talk about a lot, long toss at 300 is going to give us 90 out of the hand, and we're just trying to maximize that on the mound where we typically see a lot of breakdowns occurring. So as we see here with you, mound 80, so we're lacking about 10 miles per hour in power output there. In the screen, we're going to be talking about the drive leg. We're going to be talking about what you mentioned in your assessment with that push that we're seeing. We're going to kind of allude that to the long toss and how I see your long toss clean up. We're going to be talking about your early launch, trail leg hip flexion. We're going to compare you with a couple guys that will hopefully give you a better visual as far as the things that we're going to be talking about. And then at the end, we're going to be hammering home some solutions. I'll write up a full report after I get done recording this video, and encourage you to check out that full report and then double back with me if you have any any questions regarding that report, man. So I'm excited, dude. We're gonna dive right into it, starting from the opening leg lift. I went ahead and did a little video editing and put your two videos here side by side. And the difference between your long toss is that when you go into that crow hop, you slam that foot down. That's going to give us this, pretty much this sense of stability in that drive leg. You'll see when you slam that foot down into the ground, you create that separation from your knee to knee, right? You max out that separation, you hold drive leg posture for a little bit longer, applying that force. You'll see that you get into a much better, that corkscrew, that trail hip, right? You really get into more of a hinge, which is going to better your direction. And as you see kind of right there, and then comparing it to, where you are right here. Now I know you mentioned that your arm was late and not efficient. So for us to determine what is late, what is early, we look at front foot strike, and then for us to really give us a better visual for that, we look at when are the muscles activated in that lead leg approaching front foot strike. Okay, so we can make an argument that says that's front foot strike, and even though that's early, I'd still say your arm's pretty good timing there. But we see the muscles being activated in that lead leg right there, so that's true authentic front foot strike. So this is a really good position for us to look at a lot of different things in the delivery, okay? Because I would say up until right now, you're pretty dang solid, dude. Like the hand, the arm is in a pretty good position. The timing, everything is looking really good. I would say you can already tell that the trunk is starting to want to go, right? Obviously it's wanting to go. These things are happening within milliseconds. Here on the left, you can tell that, you're creating an okay amount of separation, but as we talk about your long toss, in your long toss, when you approach front foot strike, you'll see that boom, that trail leg, see that foot positioning right there? That shows us that that trail leg, that trail hip is going into rotation while the trunk is holding that posture. So we're starting to lead with that elbow pushing, and if you can just see kind of your head is now wanting to pull out, to the left glove side a little bit, and then this is where we see another breakdown with that trail leg going into active hip flexion. All of this stuff will be outlined a little bit more in the report. Keep using DeGrom, going back to this late launch, right? So we want to maximize this extension. You'll see DeGrom here really maximize this extension at ball release. We want to get as close to the target as possible with our hands, right? See this chest out in front of that lead leg. Good extended, elongated trail leg there, and then good head positioning, right? Minimal head movement throughout the whole entire delivery. Hopefully that all that stuff made sense, dude. As I mentioned, I'm gonna write up a full report on you. That's gonna give you a really good kind of outline of where you should go with all this stuff, dude. I know I threw a lot at you, but I thoroughly believe that you got a really good arm, and we're just trying to now maximize. Trying to maximize the timing, the moving parts, trying to create, you know, good amounts of separation, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to program a lot of progressions for you that I don't specifically know are going to be absolutes in sense of if they're going to work, if they're going to provide good feedback or not. So I encourage you to start being really intentional with implementation and understanding, hey, like this provides good feedback, this doesn't necessarily provide any feedback, and so on and so forth. So, you know, if there's any questions you have, let me know. Usually everyone's wanting to know what sets and reps to do, and I don't like to put a number on sets or reps because I don't know exactly which ones are going to be the ones that provide good feedback as far as the progression. So hopefully you can kind of get an understanding for, you know, what you're doing here as your trunk, your chest here is kind of upright, right? And you're trying to lead with that chest, which is kind of giving you that push. If we can kind of get to that position where we're extending, you see, you know, the commonality of these two guys here. See how they're really getting an extension. It's going to give us that late launch. See that your lead leg here isn't as bad as you think. I know you mentioned something about it, but you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be the C. I think the C is that extension of the knee, which is great, obviously, right? But let me see if I can get a video of someone. So here's a video of Walker Buehler, right? This guy does a lot of things pretty dang well. So you'll see here, he's a guy that, you know, his knee's bent, but he does a heck of a job of really bracing because that knee doesn't move forward. We're not leaking energy forward. A lot of the progressions that I'm gonna program for you are gonna be, you know, counterbalance stuff. I'm a huge believer in overloading the counterbalance, giving you that front side stability. I think that's going to better equip you to establish and hold direction, pull that arm through, and then maximize that late launch. And it's also probably going to clean up the instability issue that we see. It's causing that trail leg, you know, hip flexion. And then a lot of the stuff is going to be, you know, really tailored towards maximizing extension and getting late launch and having, you know, just creating environments that are going to provide some feedback for you to understand, okay, that's what pulling feels like, right? So if we're talking about wanting to pull that arm through instead of pushing that arm through, we want to create a sensory impact in your brain to go, oh, dude, that's a weird feeling. I've never felt that before. All right, let's do, you know, a bunch of intentional repetitions of this, so then I can get that sensation, so then I can better, you know, do that on the mountain. Okay, so that was about a 14-minute video there. Like I said, they're usually around 10 minutes, but there was a lot to unpack there, and obviously I showed off for you guys, so you don't have to comment that. Now I will edit the video, the screen. Okay, so I'll edit that up, and then I'll finish typing up the report now. I'll basically take here and then put it on the computer and then send that with the uploaded mechanical screen back to the email address that purchased the analysis, and then we're good. So as you can see, it takes about an hour and a half, 2 hours to complete one client there, and then obviously the follow-up email that they get. So a lot of work goes into it, man, but it's fun, and you know, it's all worth it when they send me emails back saying how good it was and how they're pumped, and oof, fires me up. All right, I'm gonna finish this up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Sign up for an analysis. That's what you get. Maximize potential. Let's go. All right, guys. As always, Robbie Rowe, I'm out.